So we have Vanessa from Bill Beard, Costa Rica, and Michael from Rocket Frog Divers. Tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the destination of Costa Rica in general. But for those of you that have been following along with us since April, we did do a sort of general introduction to Costa Rica and what's so interesting above and below. And that video is on our YouTube. Tonight, what we're doing is we are going to share a little bit of that, but the main focus is an area I didn't even really know existed. And I've been to Costa Rica myself previously, and that's the different opportunities for you to swim with whales and various porpoises around Costa Rica. It's actually a really exciting spin on something on a destination that already has it all. So I asked Vanessa to come back, and she brought Michael with her, and they're going to share this exciting part of Costa Rica. So Vanessa and Michael, welcome.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for joining, everybody. So
should I go
yeah.
I'm sorry. Do you want to go first, Vanessa?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go first. So thanks, Cheryl, for letting us join you and everybody this Tuesday night. It's a little rainy here in Costa Rica, so we're escaping the rain. Today we really we gave a talk last April or May, all about kind of Costa Rica in general, coming to dive in Costa Rica. We have some amazing diving, really heavy marine life. We've got wonderful wildlife topside. There's a lot to do here in Costa Rica. We wanted to talk a little bit with Michael, who's in the water every day, seeing the things that we always want to see every day. So he's going to talk a little bit more in depth about the wildlife and marine life that divers can see when they come to Costa Rica, what they typically see, what are some of the seasonal migrations that we might see, and talk a little bit more in depth about marine life in Costa Rica and what divers will see. So Michael, if you want to take it away.
Awesome. So welcome to everyone, and I'm happy to provide you as much information as I can about the marine life in our area. First, I'd like to speak about the whales. There's 2 whale seasons in Costa Rica. My favorite whale season is from July to November. This is the first season. The whales typically show up at the same time every year within about a week. They stay on schedule pretty well. The whales that visit us during this first season from July to November are traveling from Antarctica. Of course, during that time, it's cold and frozen there. So they travel here to give birth to their calves. Females normally travel with 2 calves. They travel with last year's calf, and then, of course, their newborn. And the second-year calf helps the mom play a role in taking care of the new calf during the year. When the whales come to Costa Rica, they come here just for a reproduction cycle. There's no feeding of the whales while they're in the area. They're here just to give birth to their calves, and the males that follow are trying to re-inseminate the females that are ready to have birth again. So this is what happens in both seasons. There's 2 well-known groups that travel to Costa Rica, from one being from Antarctica, which I told you, and then the other group is from Alaska. And this group typically travels and arrives sometime in January, and then typically is here till March. And then in March, they're here for the same type of cycle while they're here. And then at the end of the March, they tend to travel back to Alaska with their newborns and to begin feeding. I said that nobody's feeding while they're here, but of course the calves are feeding from their moms during their stay. So we really have 3 main areas that we dive in. One is the Gulf of Papagayo. The second one is Las Catalinas. And then the third area is Isla Marciélagos. We typically see whales in all of these areas. We see the greatest abundance of whales between uh, Playas del Coco, our local area, and Las Catalinas along the shoreline. The humpback whales like the shallow water. And this is where they stay with their calves. And because they all have calves, they tend to stay on the surface for greater periods of time. So there's three opportunities that we really get to enjoy with the humpback whales here in Costa Rica. One, during this period of time, whether we see the whales or not, almost all of our dives are filled with whale song. And I have to say that this is quite an amazing experience to be able to dive and just listen to whale song the entire time that you're in the water. And sometimes the sound is deafening because they're so close. Even though you may not be able to see them, the experience is awesome. The second opportunity we have, and the most frequent that we have, is our surface interactions. We typically float during surface intervals or en route to dive sites from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, watching the whales play and breach from the water. We see this a lot. There's a lot of this going on here, and whether you dive with them or not that day, the experience is just amazing. The third option, and what we see and happens to us often, and some of these underwater photos that Vanessa is showing you, are taken by us and are taken by our divers. This typically happens when the calves that are curious want to interact with us. So we don't ever force this interaction. If the whales come to the vessel, if we're on the surface or on a surface interval, we'll enter the water as snorkelers and see what the interaction is that the whales like to have with us. And then there's other times where the whales actually interact with us while we're diving. And we've had many interactions. Some of the interactions have lasted an hour and are typically driven by how long mom wants to let curious calf hang out with us. They're very intelligent creatures, and it's quite obvious to us that they really understand what they're doing when they're interacting with us. It really provides a great experience. So this is really the whale action, and yeah, all of these pictures and that Vanessa's showing you. I think there's one good longer video I hope that she can show you that's on the surface that's amazing as well. So the chances of this happening are very high during these time periods. The chances of you interacting and having interaction with the humpback whales, I would say, are between 70 to 85% that you're going to have some interaction with them during this period. Sometimes when the whales are arriving just in July, the interactions are less because they're not full on in. But in August forward, there's a lot of great whale action in the area. Mother Nature also provides another interesting interaction for us, which sometimes can seem terrible. But when the humpback whales arrive, there's typically a pod, at least one pod every year, of killer whales that make the migration with the humpback whales. And of course, they are here to feast on the calves. So this is part of nature, but the experience that's provided us is also rare interactions with killer whales in the area during this season as well. So that's a great opportunity. One of the things that we've learned and had the opportunity to observe is that the dolphins tend to stay with and sing to female humpback whales that are about to give birth. There's a lot of different opinions on why this happens, but the first thing I'm going to say is speculative. and it's that scientists seem to believe that the porpoises and the dolphins sing to the female that's about to give birth to help calm her. I don't know that this can be proven, but this interaction happens very often when we see dolphins with the females that are ready to give birth. The second interaction, which is known for sure, is that the dolphins are there for a meal and they feed off the afterbirth from the birth of the calf. So I think that's about all I have to say about the humpback whales. Does anybody have any questions about anything I've just explained? If not, I'm happy to describe the other sea life in the area that we see all the time.
Michael, normally we do Q&A at the end. People will put their hands up. There's been a couple of questions. It's completely up to you if you would like to take the Q&A on the whales now and then move on to other animals, or if you want to move on to the other marine life and then take all the Q&A at the end. That's completely up to you.
No, it's fine. I'll follow your format, and I'm sorry that I tried
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah. We just don't like to derail you, and you get all these questions, and then you forget where you were. So it's completely up to you. We'll do it however you're comfortable.
Okay, great.
Maybe Michael, I know that I'm just going to jump in. I know that we most of our diving we do in the Pacific Northwest. I'd say 90% of our divers are going to be heading to that area, which is the Playa de Coco, Flamingo area, because of a few reasons. One, the diving's great, and number two, ease of arriving. Liberia Airport's only about a 35 to 45 minute drive to most dive locations. So again, most of our diving is done in that area, and so he's really talking about there. Other areas where you can also see the humpback whales. So before, Michael, you jump into the other marine life, maybe we just touch a little bit about the other areas in the south where they can also see them and do some diving. It's a little bit more logistically harder to get to some of those locations. And again, most of our diving is in the Pacific Northwest, but there are a couple other locations on the Pacific that are heavy in terms of whales sightings as well. So I don't know if you want to talk about it, or I can just mention them as well, either way.
It doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to do it if you like, Vanessa.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so into the southern area, the most popular place for diving is near Drake Bay, on the mainland, Drake Bay and Dominical. And the destination for the divers from these locations on the mainland is Caños Island. This is a national park. It's typically a 35-minute to 40-minute boat ride, I think. And admittedly, there is a greater population of the whales that have a tendency of stopping in this area there to the south. There are many businesses in the area that conduct whale watching tours here. This is not our focus. In our area to the north, all the interactions with the whales are through dive operators. I'm unaware of any actual, like, quote, whale watching activities to the north. Typically, people interact with the whales through either diving, or when people are fishing, they have these interactions as well to the north. But I know that there's a lot of whale watching type tours to the south with the diving out of that area. And a lot of the boats have marine biologists that are on board, and they carry hydrophones with them to stop and listen to the whale song while they cross from the mainland to Caños Island into the national park. The national park is controlled by rangers, and there's a number of dive sites in the area out there that provide good to excellent diving. But this is the main area for diving in that area. Yeah, so that's about all I know about the services in the area to the south, Vanessa.
Yeah, I'm just going to tag on one other area. There's, you've probably seen it, and I'm going to try to pull up a picture of it, but another hot area is the area called Uvita. And
Yeah.
there's a marine park there. It was actually the first park that was founded in Costa Rica, and pretty much exclusively to kind of protect the humpback whales that were coming in. That was kind of one of the main purposes. And that's the Marino Balleno National Park. And what's really interesting is the park has a natural feature, and I'm going to pull, excuse me, I don't have this ready, but I'm going to pull this up. It's a natural formation, and let me just pull this up real quick. That looks like a whale's tail. And so many people say, you know, it marks, let me see if I can pull that up. Are you able to see that on my screen?
It's still showing the map, Vanessa.
Okay, let me stop and then share again. I'll share again. And so this whale's tail, you can see it at low tide, and it's really the spot on where the whales arrive to. So a lot of people come and they think it's kind of like the marker. I know, you know, I know there's probably not a lot of truth to that, but a lot of people say that the whales kind of know where to go because they have that whale tail marker natural. So that's kind of an interesting fact. And they do a lot of the whale, specifically whale watching tours from this area. Like Michael said, up in the north, they're not really specifically whale watching tours, but this area does have them. So if you are really into that and just want to do a whale watching tour, this is a great area. Or if you've got a non-divers or something like that didn't want to do diving trips, that's a great area to see the whales as well. And again, like he said, especially during August, September, the heavy months. In fact, there's a whale festival. They didn't do it this year, but every year they have a big whale festival. They do a bunch of tours, not only for tourists, but for locals as well, to teach them about marine conservation and to really help protect the marine life in Costa Rica. So a little interesting fact, and I think it's kind of a unique natural feature of Costa Rica. So Michael, if you want to talk, if that was it on the whales, if you want to maybe jump into a little bit more of additional marine life that divers are able to see, and I'll pull up some pictures on that as well.
Yep, for sure. So we're famous for a lot of things here in Costa Rica. For sure, when you come here to go diving, it won't be possible for you to come back from a dive and say that you didn't see anything. If you do, I would accuse you of sleeping during the dive. There's like the land, the ocean is full, rich, healthy, and just tremendous amount of sea life is presented to us. Annually, we have interactions with whale sharks about 3 times a month. We have many different species of seahorses, which we see almost every dive. We have orange, white, brown, black, green, and yellow. Lots of different colors of seahorses. Tons of octopus. You'll see octopus during the day. Many people come and say typical places where they dive, they only see octopi at night. We see them all the time during the day. There's abundance of octopus here in the area. We have large schools of fish that we see on every single dive. Lots of white-tip sharks, a very healthy white-tip shark population in the area. Almost all the dive sites have white-tip sharks. Some of the dive sites are more renowned for the white-tip shark, and the white-tip sharks like them. Those sites, for some reason, we see 20, 25 sharks on a single dive site. We have an area where we go and interact with bull sharks as well in the national park up here to the north. And
I'll try to pull up some pictures of those. Just a minute.
Okay. And the giant Pacific manta as well. These are much larger than the reef mantas. And we have, very often we have experiences with these manta rays. The manta rays tend to like it when the water is cooler. We have greater interactions with manta rays from December through April when the water is cooler, but they are here year round. We can see and have seen as many as 5 or 6 on a single dive site, cruising over the cleaning station. So lots of turtles here as well in Costa Rica. There's amazing experiences that you can have, both on the ocean, under the ocean, and on land, with the nesting of the Ridleys here in Costa Rica. There's times of the year where you can't even walk on the beach because it's packed from end to end with turtles. And Vanessa can tell you more about that. I think she does with that, deals with that much more than I do. I tend to like to look at them in the water. Lots of turtle porn going on here all the time. Plenty of turtles to be seen. Plenty of dolphins to be seen. Clown shrimp, certainly they can be seen all the time here. And lots of fish. Yeah, there's really nothing on the list that is not here to be seen. Lots of rays. We have electric rays, spotted eagle rays, southern rays, round rays, devil rays, cownose rays. We see the devil rays and the cownose rays in big schools. Tens of thousands. Sometimes we see these formations of these rays. Sometimes the formations swim over you while you're diving, and it just absolutely becomes dark, and you look up and they're literally blocking the sun. So the things I'm describing to you are not like things that you might get lucky and see. The things that I fully expect that you would see every species of ray. If you were diving here for 3 days, you would see white-tipped sharks, nurse sharks. If you made the trip to Bat Island, you would see bull sharks. So everything I'm describing to you is in the realm of real possibility of seeing, and it's not likely to be skunked during your days of diving, that you wouldn't see any of these things while you're here.
Michael, so we have very rich, nutrient-rich waters, and that's what is bringing all this marine life. And so that you see here, I'm pulling up a few more. What about water temps, Michael? What are we seeing right now? You've been in the water a little bit more than I have. So what are we seeing right now in terms of water temps, and what can people expect on 2 different seasons?
Okay, so typically from end of May until the first part of November, typically the water temperature is 80 to 85 degrees, or it's hanging around 26 to 28 Celsius. During the months starting in December, January, February, and March, we have the cooler temperatures with a tendency for thermocline. So I would say the water temperatures tend to dip to 23 to 24 Celsius, or 75 to 78 degrees. And we have thermoclines as well. But during this time of the year, as like Vanessa said, during this period of time where the water is cooler, this is a period of time that the mantas favor that are doing the feeding. Visibility is reduced at this time. Visibility, I would say, can be as low as 5 meters and as much as 20 meters during this time of the year when it's cooler. And then during the summer months here, the visibility tends to be more like the picture Vanessa is showing you right now, where the minimum visibility would be 10 meters, and then the maximum visibility would be unlimited, or 30 meters in this range. This is a great photo of cownose rays that we took. We took this in Catalinas, this photo, at a dive site in Catalinas of cownose rays that passed by.
There's one of the bull shark. I knew I had it in there.
Yeah, there it is. This is a great interaction with the bull shark. This leads me to another story while this photo's up here. our interactions with the bull sharks are natural. There's no feeding of any marine species here in Costa Rica. So the interactions we have with the bull sharks, we have them regularly at, I would say, 8 out of 10 tries at a particular dive site, because this dive site is three things to them. It's a cleaning station, it's a feeding station, and it's a reproductive station. So when we enter the area, into this area that they consider theirs, because bull sharks are very territorial, the once the sharks realize that they're there, they come to visit and swim with us. So they're amazing creatures, and this shark that you're looking at is a female. And it's easy for me to tell that this shark is a female because of the scarring on the body. This scarring is done during mating season by the males. So they try to bite the females and then invert them to make them tranquil and then inseminate them. So rather than looking and gendering the bull sharks, it's very easy to tell the females from the males, at least for us and your guides, because typically two things. The females are so much bigger than the males, so much bigger, probably 3 times the size, 2 to 3 times the size of the male bull sharks always. And then they're typically scarred like this. You see bite marks. And sometimes the sharks will swim out of view, and you'll see a female swim out of view and not see any scars on her body. But when she swims back into view, she has scars on her body. So where a male either attempted or was successful mating with her. Really great interactions with the sharks, the bull sharks here.
There's,
like
can you talk a little bit about the season for bull sharks? I don't know, I'm not sure if you mentioned that before, maybe you did, but.
Yep, because of the weather pattern that I just described to you, the bull sharks are there year round in that area. But our travel, our route to get to the dive site with the bull sharks is about 35 kilometers by boat. We have fast boats that are designed to make this crossing, and during normal times, it's only about a 45-minute boat ride. But between the months of December and April, with the weather change here in Costa Rica comes winds from the north. These winds tend to create swells that make it difficult to cross from Playas del Coco to the national park. So the greatest opportunity almost to be unimpeded by weather comes during the months of June, July, August, September, October, and then typically midway into November. We do try to make the trip for the year round, and we do go year round, but it becomes weather dependent at about 15 November, in that range, when we start to get the winds from the north.
Okay, great. I know I'm just going to touch a little bit about the turtle migration, and this is more topside activities in terms of seeing the turtles. There's 2 areas where you can, there is turtle nests all throughout Costa Rica. However, the 2 main areas that we see the turtle nesting is over in the Tortuguero area, which is one of the biggest nesting areas in the Western Hemisphere for green turtles. I just actually went over and saw the turtles laying their eggs 2 weeks ago, and it was amazing. So they usually are in the area from anywhere from starting in July up until about end of October. And then we see the hatchlings that are coming out about 2 months after that. So the Tortuguero area is a great place if you want to see turtle nesting and turtle hatching as well. And then the other area that Michael was mentioning before, where you sometimes see the beaches completely covered with the turtles, is over on the Pacific, which is a little bit south of the Papagayo, called Ostinal. And in that area, they do come up pretty much every month, some months not, but usually it's called the Arriada. And if you catch it during that 3 or 4 day window, then the beaches can be completely covered as they come up and lay their eggs. So it's a little bit more sporadic on trying to see that, a little bit harder to predict, but once we know that they are offshore and coming in, then you do have maybe a 3 or 4 or 5 day window that you're able to go and see them as well, and that's the Ostinal area. So yeah, let's see. Talk a little bit about, so we talked about seasons, we talked about water temps, and yeah, I think that kind of covers in terms of wildlife. Again, Costa Rica as well is a great location for divers and non-divers. I know that obviously this group's definitely focused on seeing what we can see under the water, but there's some amazing topside wildlife as well, and that's really a big draw and makes Costa Rica a unique location for travelers, because you're going to be able to see amazing marine life below the surface, and then once you do some topside activities, you're seeing all those great creatures that Costa Rica is well known for, the sloths, toucans, tons of birds. If you're a birder, Costa Rica is an amazing place, and lots of monkeys, 4 different monkey species, caimans, crocodiles. So there's a lot to see topside as well, and a lot of activities. So Costa Rica is a really great destination for divers, non-divers alike. So that makes us unique in the terms of finding a different location. And we're a quick stop down from most of the hubs, you know, usually within 3 to 5 hours from most hubs, it's easy to get down here. So we're not that far away. Michael, I don't know if you wanted to talk anything more about the diving in the Guanacaste region.
No, I would like to add, one of the things I failed to say is all our diving is by boat. From the Playas del Coco area or the Las Catalinas area. From there, the boat rides are typically 10 to 15 minutes. And in the Guanacaste to the north, in the Playas del Coco area, there are about 25 different dive sites that we like to use in the area. And then in the Las Catalinas area, there's another 15 there that we like to use. And then at Bad Islands, there's 2. And we only use these 2 because these 2 sites are so amazing that there's no need in trying to go someplace else in the national park to dive there. So we tend to use the one dive site where the bull sharks are at, and then the second dive site. Typically, we see lots of mantas, whale sharks, and big schools of fish, like 50,000 at this second site in the national park. And there's typically 4 or 5 different types of fish that school in this number out there. And then in the crossing, we typically always see turtles, dolphins, and humpback whales during the crossing in this area for the whales that like to be in the national park. So yeah, I really, the diving's great in all 3 locations. And I certainly wouldn't try to steer anyone from one to the other. For sure, the diving in the national park is the best that there is. There's no fishing there. But as I said, there's within 10 to 15 minutes, there's 25 great sites to dive from while you're here.
Great. That's great. I've pulled up a couple more pictures as maybe we do some questions and answers. If anybody's got some questions of kind of the top side in Costa Rica, I know we did a pretty extensive photos of what you can see below, but I'll talk a little bit about, or I'll show a little bit about what you can see above as well while we have any questions. I don't know if Cheryl, you want to open up to questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to open up to questions. We've got a couple that have been fired off while you were presenting, so we'll do that. What we tend to do for anyone that's not been here before, we tend to open it up. If you want to raise your hand in the chat box, or if you want to let us know that you have a question in the Q&A box or the chat box, we like to put you, if you have a working mic, we like to put you on live with our presenters so that you can interact and speak to them directly. I do have a couple of people that Carrie is unmuting right now, so we'll get them on because there are a few questions. One clarification that was asked by someone who doesn't have a mic is when you're talking about getting in the water with the humpbacks, and I know you talked about diving with the humpbacks or being on the surface between dives, that sounds incredible. And I know that's a rare opportunity when you count the number of places in the world that can happen. That's why I'm so excited to share this. Can a snorkeler have a similar opportunity where they can get in the water with a humpback if they're not a diver?
Yes, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And this is how a lot of our interactions happen during surface intervals or when we're traveling en route from one location to another. So basically, at this point, if the whales want to be near us, then everyone exits the boat as a snorkeler in this situation. So there are great opportunities where snorkelers or non-divers have the opportunity as well to interact with the whales. And it brings up furthermore, we've had incidents here while we're diving that while the divers are diving, they fail to see giant Pacific manta that is in the area. And the snorkelers spend the whole time snorkeling with this giant manta on the surface while everybody is below. And they're at this point, there becomes jealous divers because of the snorkeling activity on top.
Great, thanks. That's good info. So for any of our snorkelers out there, I know we have a couple of you tonight. Hopefully that's good news for you. Steve and Tricia Hoy, you're on. Steve and Tricia, do you have your mic unmuted? We have you unmuted this end if you've got a working mic. Okay, it looks like we don't have Steve and Tricia Hoy. Bill Weber, we're also trying to unmute you. I don't know if you don't have a working. Okay, Bill doesn't have a mic either. Bill asked, can you give us some general information about bill beards? Bill, one question. Are you asking about the operation, the company, or are you asking about the gentleman, or both?
That's another whole other podcast.
That's a rabbit hole.
We don't have time for the man himself.
Well, I love the history of, how he founded diving in Costa Rica and everything else. So I do love that story. So I didn't know, but Bill clarified and said the operation.
Okay. So Bill Beards, I'll give the quick version. So Bill Beard was one of the people who brought diving to Costa Rica. He brought some of the first tanks down in the 70s and had the first dive operation in Costa Rica. Over the years, the business really molded into more of dive travel. We had all this great diving here, but you need to bring divers to come see it. So what's the best way to do that is to promote diving. So we really wanted to spread it and bring more divers down to Costa Rica. So that's our goal now as well, is to promote Costa Rica as a dive destination, not only diving, but also showing all the amazing stuff, knowing that people can combine diving with adventure, really making a place where, hey, it's not just for divers. Bring your non-diving spouse, bring your family. If you've got 2 divers, 2 non-divers, bring them down. There's something for everybody. So yeah, so that's kind of what we do, and our goal is to really bring divers down to Costa Rica and promote it as an amazing and different dive location.
Yeah, and I would definitely echo that. My first time coming to Costa Rica, we did a multi-generational family trip. So we had youngsters, we had some old enough to dive, some not. We had myself and my hubby and some friends who are big time divers, and then we had my dad that doesn't even swim. And we were all able to have an incredible time. We did a mix of both diving and a lot of topside stuff, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so that's really our bonus here in Costa Rica. So
All right. Steve and Tricia, did you get your mic working yet?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Welcome.
Yeah.
You're on.
Sorry, I was just all unplugged. You want the camera on too?
If you want to, go for it.
I will remind you that unfortunately we don't have the option to let them turn their cameras on.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, we've got that. Sorry about that. We've got that because with limited connectivity, such as, it's inhibited Michael from being able to share his video tonight. The video streams take up a lot of bandwidth. So unfortunately, we can't see your lovely face tonight, Steve, but go ahead. You're on with Michael, Vanessa, and Bill. Oh, I think we lost him again. Steve, are you there? All right, we'll wait for Steve he tried to do his video, and I think instead of his video, we lost his mic. So let's, Randy, you're on.
Yeah, is there nitrox available?
Yes, we pre-mix nitrox. We keep about 100 tanks full.
Okay.
32%.
Is the diving mainly shallow sand bottom diving?
No, actually I'll give you a lengthy answer to your question. As far as planet Earth goes, Costa Rica is fairly young as compared to the other continents. At one point, there was 120 active volcanoes in the country, and I think there's still 9. Vanessa, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But most of our diving is on lava pinnacle rock formations. Almost everything is rock formations, and the coral we have in the area grows on that. Great diving in Costa Rica is between 18 to 24 meters, or between 45 to 65 feet. This is where we see the greatest band of life. There's certainly, we have some sites where we can go deeper, and there's some great stuff to see, but the majority of the diving is at the depth I just described.
Okay, thank you.
Bill also wants to know, how many people do you have on your dive boats typically?
Okay, great question. We have 6 different dive boats at different sizes with different missions. Most of our boats are 12 passenger boats, and we dive in small groups of 4 to 6 with a guide and a safety diver for each of those groups. We have a bigger boat that holds 32 divers. This is our biggest boat that we tend to use for groups, and we only use this boat in the Gulf itself for a local area diving, and occasionally we send it out to Catalinas. But it's a boat that's designed to operate as a boat that handles our larger groups when groups want to dive together.
Okay, thanks. I hope that answered your question, Bill. Steve and Tricia Hoy, are you back on with us?
I think I am. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes, we can.
Ah, cool. Sorry about that. Hardware challenged. We've actually snorkeled with whales in Tonga, and that was magnificent. What I really was amazed at is the fact that you're implying, and I want an answer if you can, that I can dive with these whales. Is it?
Yes, that is what we're implying. It's not illegal here in the country.
Wow.
None of the
It's
interaction.
really unusual.
Yes, there's we go through the captains. There's a special training program for the boat captains, and then there's additional training for the the staff at the dive centers. So we participate in that training, and we never force the interaction with the whales. And some don't want to have interactions with us. Some new moms don't want to, but others are happy to let the calves interact with us, and the moms typically overwatch and see what's going on when those interactions occur. So we have both. It's common for us to have both.
Great. How close do people have to stay away? Maybe 12 to 15 feet?
It really depends on there's no limiting rule to that. We've had calves come up and to touching range and tried to touch the divers. You
Really?
just have to, you have to be just cautious when this occurs, because baby wants to do it doesn't mean mom thinks it's a good idea.
Right.
So we always tend to, and we tell people to not touch the whales because touching the whale it's not typically invited, and it's not welcomed by the moms when anyone is trying to touch the whales itself. But mom typically lets the calves come as close as they want until she's had enough of them and it's time to move on.
That's great. I'd like to do that.
I'd like to be able to have the opportunity to do it with you.
Talk to Cheryl, man.
Another quick question. It's so warm down there. Can I wear just a skin and a bathing suit? That'll be all right?
Yeah, we have no rules in regards to what you wear or how you like to dive. You'll see that many of the staff is diving in a rash guard and just a pair of trunks when the water temperature is 85, and that's certainly okay for you. We always recommend that for people that still have a tendency to bump into things, that you wear some type of either full length rash guard or a 1 mil wetsuit during this time, because as human beings, we're really allergic to everything that we touch underwater, and normally end up with some type of rash when we rub against something with our bare skin. But if you're comfortable and you'd like to dive in shorts and a rash guard, that's okay with us.
Great.
Randy, Steve, I'm ready to go. I'm sitting here like I'm about to look up tickets and catch this whale season before it ends.
Yeah. Well, and Cheryl, you might be mentioning this later. Costa Rica just opened it will be opening its doors to all U.S. travelers starting November 1st. We've done a gradual opening since September 1st, where there were 5 states that were open September 1st, and they opened another one every 15 days. But starting November 1st, we are allowing all travelers to into Costa Rica. There's no restrictions in terms of which states are allowed in. So that's good news, because people are really working hard on setting up great protocols and making it safe for travelers. And Costa Rica is definitely ready to have people back again.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a question, and it was one I wanted to cover, and part of the reason why we did the timing for the show tonight. So Costa Rica started, you do still need a PCR test to enter and carry a certain level of insurance that includes medical coverage. Your standard trip insurance would definitely meet that requirement. Originally, Costa Rica started with a handful of states whose coronavirus numbers were really low, and we're starting to see this as a bit of a pattern. I mean, countries, how they're opening, the ability to open, they don't want to just open the floodgates and then all of a sudden they have all these numbers, their numbers go crazy and they have to shut everything back down again. So what we're seeing for some countries, and Costa Rica, I want to say, is actually one of the leaders in this, is selecting certain states with their numbers being low. Johns Hopkins is one of the websites with a huge coronavirus panel of all kinds of different trends, and tends to be one of the authorities for the United States as far as using it for different numbers. So if anybody's sort of interested, you can follow the Johns Hopkins website. So Costa Rica started with a handful of states and slowly started adding more as those numbers went down. Breaking news just a couple of days ago, November 1st, they opened to all 50 US states, travelers from all 50 US states. So everybody still needs a PCR test in advance. Vanessa, is it 5 days in advance or?
Unfortunately, it's 3 days. Things are very fluid, so I definitely would check back with that as you're getting closer to your travel dates. It is 3 days right now. It's 72 hours, so that's still they're sticking to that right now. We'll see. I think once things open, and hopefully we're able to keep levels down and maintain a sustainable level here. Hopefully we'll see that relaxing a little bit. So we'll definitely keep you posted so you can keep people in the know about that. But it is 72 hours right now.
Okay, thanks. And we do have on our website, if you click on our website in the top right-hand corner, we have a COVID-19 tab. We do have some links there of different websites such as Johns Hopkins, but also IATA top left, IATA that tracks all the different entry requirements in real time. So we have some links for you to keep informed on what's going on in the world. One thing that I think a lot of countries are seeing as well is that they're opening the doors gradually and carefully, but it's not like everybody is rushing in. There's an awful lot of people that are just not comfortable traveling yet, or there's people with jobs that require a 14-day quarantine when they return. You've got a lot of other countries right now, a lot are not allowing their nationals to leave. So this is an incredible time to travel if you can and you're able, because we were talking before we jumped online. You're going to have resorts to yourself, dive boats to yourself. There's social distancing protocols. There's only a certain occupancy level that varies by country to country and area to area, but the hotels, the dive boats, everything have to work at a limited capacity. So there's not going to be anything full right now. And as I said, they've opened a few states at a time, but nobody's rushing in. So I think that's part of the drive of why they're now allowing all 50 states in, is because they opened up to a handful of them and it wasn't like all these people come running in. So this is an incredible time to go. And regardless of what state you live in, November 1st, if you can get a PCR test, and carry travel insurance that includes medical, you'll be able to travel. So that's some interesting news. Lisa, I know that was one of your questions. While I'm asking that for you, the other one was Lisa asked, and I'm not exactly what specifically she's looking for, but she asked, what's the shark situation in Costa Rica? Lisa, if you want to kind of type in maybe a little bit more, exactly what you're kind of inquiring as far as, and some of this may be covered already by Michael, if it's kind of opportunities to see sharks. I know you talked about the bull sharks, Michael. Yeah, Lisa's asking what types and how abundant.
Okay. All right. So in general terms, on a daily basis, you can see a white-tip shark. Our largest abundance is the white-tip shark, which is almost on every single dive site. The second is the nurse sharks, which we see very often. And then the third type of shark is the bull shark, which is on the screen right now. And that's a great photo to demonstrate the size as it compares to us human beings. That's a female shark there. And then, of course, the other shark, which just passed by on the slide, is the whale shark. So those are the four main species of sharks that we see. Lenny?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Doug Alford, he doesn't have a mic. He's asking, are the dives drift dives?
No, we don't have any drift diving to speak of here in Costa Rica. We have a couple of linear dives where you get dropped off on one end of the dive site and the boat follows you, but typically the current's not pushing you. You have to swim to the other end of that site. But most of 98% of the sites that we have are circular in nature. On some of them, the only currents we really have are generated by tidal motion, and where the gap between the dive site and land is narrower, that tidal motion can have a little oomph to it. But Yeah, you got to work on one side, and the other side you get a little bit of a free ride on the way around. But really no drift diving, no drift hooks needed, anything of that nature.
Great, thank you. Guys, we never turn anybody off. However long you want to ask questions, we'll keep going. But it is almost 8 o'clock, and I know some of our viewers kick out right at 8. So if anybody has any other questions, if you can please like raise your hand or type it in the chat box or what have you. I'll give you a minute to do that. But in the meantime, Randy, Lou, you had a question and you were on.
Yeah, it was airfare from West Coast US. What's the best airport to fly into?
So I'll jump in on that. So if you are diving, obviously, then it's probably best to fly into the Liberia Airport, LIR. That is located in the northwestern region. And again, it's very close to most of the dive spots, about anywhere between 35 to 55 minutes from any of the dive locations. So if you're going to be exclusively diving, fly in and out of Liberia. Often our groups or even individual travelers, what they might do is do the diving at the beginning of their trip. So they fly into Liberia and then maybe they go inland to maybe Monteverde or the Arnal volcano, and then they can fly out of San Jose. We often find flights to be the same price or sometimes even cheaper if you do an open jaw ticket where you fly into Liberia or out of San Jose or vice versa. So if you did want to do a little bit more topside stuff, you can also do it that way too if you wanted to maybe do a drift dive through Costa Rica and go through Liberia all the way down and end up in San Jose. So you can do both, but if you're exclusively diving in and out of Liberia, it makes the most sense if you're diving from the from the Guanacaste region.
Thank you.
I would mention that both Liberia and San Jose are really, really well served from all the US gateways and a number of other cities as well. And I've seen some really awesome airfare, even pre-COVID. There's been some excellent airfare and lots of flights. This is actually a really easy destination to reach from the United States, pretty much West Coast, East Coast, or anywhere in between. Okay, well, I think that's all of our questions. I don't think we have anybody else. So kind of last chance, guys. Otherwise, we will wrap this up for this evening. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. Michael's going to get us, I believe, his PowerPoint presentation and or video, and we will share that with you when we receive it. Just to mention, I don't know if it was mentioned at the beginning, but some of these photos that Vanessa's been sharing from the Facebook page, especially the whale action, was taken in the last week or two, right, Vanessa?
Some of the whale ones, yes. And Zoom doesn't do well with videos, but we've got some great videos as well. But I often find that it hasn't worked very well. But yeah, we've had, and Michael can contest that, a lot of whale activity in the last month. It's been amazing. So
yeah.
Fantastic. And Carrie, I do have a Bill live cap. Oh, you've unmuted him for me. Thank you. I don't know what's going on with me today either. I think there's just gremlins for all of us. I couldn't unmute him, but Bill, you're on.
Yeah, I had a question for Michael. Was wondering what is the percentage of nitrox? You mentioned that, but I didn't catch it.
We pre-mixed the 32. That works best, I think, in our area for the diving that you're doing. But if you'd like a different mix all the way up to 40 for some reason, if we know ahead of time, we can pre-mix it.
All right, thank you.
This photo that Vanessa has on the screen right now, this is a snorkeler's photo. Awesome.
So for you snorkelers out there, you can see, or on a surface interval, it's not a bad way to spend it. So fantastic.
This one as well. This is a snorkeler's, this second one.
Awesome.
This one as well.
Sounds like some shallow dives or some snorkelings in our future.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's everyone for the evening. Ooh. Thank you. Thanks, Carrie. All right, I think that's everyone this evening. We've got all your questions answered. So I really, really appreciate everybody coming. If you think of anything else, when we disconnect tonight, please shoot us an email, drop us a line on a Facebook chat or something like that. We'll be glad to get you the answers. Hopefully we've whet your appetite for Costa Rica. You've got all year round. It's a different, amazing destination. It just depends when you're able to go and exactly what it is you want to see. So we'll be able to guide you with that. I'm seriously going to be jumping off here and looking at flights from from Toledo to Ohio beginning November 1st. So if anybody else wants some help, I'll be sitting there pricing up airline tickets this evening in my pajamas. But I really appreciate Vanessa and Michael, you coming this evening and joining us and sharing this with us. I think Costa Rica is amazing. Above and below, there is just so much to do and so much for everyone and every age group and interest. But as I said, the whale side of this is just, I didn't know. I really didn't know that this was an area of the world that you could get in the water and have these interactions with whales, and then hearing the whole dolphins coming along and killer whales coming along. I mean, just, and to be honest, relatively speaking, right on our doorstep. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
For sure. It's my pleasure. I hope I provided you with some good information.
You did. Thank you so much. And Vanessa, thank you as well for all your help and work. And guys, we do have some packages online if you're interested in ideas. We've got a couple of them up there on the website. One, strictly a week of diving. One or two different resorts that are a combination of diving and then going into the interior and doing treetop canopy tours and nature tours and cloud forests and active volcanoes with natural hot springs. Honestly, with Costa Rica, the imagination is the limit. I would say finances as well. That's always a concern for everybody. But when you think about what you get for what it costs your pocketbook, it's actually a very, very reasonable destination. And there's everything from value B&Bs all the way to all-inclusives and luxury accommodation. So we really can kind of sit down, what time do you have, what your dreams are, and tailor it all to suit. So please bear that in mind. But if you want a couple of sample packages, we do have those ready to go on our website this evening.